is Friday night with Erdinger. We're upstairs in the Mayflower. I am delighted to have with me Mr. Rob Gutman, Mr. Kevin Walsh, and in his pomp I've got Chris Barber to talk about Chelsea. He's been talking to us about a number of things for many a year, but Chelsea is often one of them. Supports the Chelsea.
That's why he talks about them.
That's why he talks about them.
Hence the pomp.
It is, yet again, manages to be another crunch moment for Chelsea. You managed to pick it. Listen, before the season started, me and you, I think it might have been on a show, it might have been not on a show, it might have been over a pint. We were having a chat, and one of the things you were saying was, when you boys come to the bridge, it could be dead interesting, because we've got a pretty easy first six, and then you're going to rock up, and look at you now.
We all had an Erdinger in August. And forgotten ourselves. Yeah, I think Chelsea are certainly much better on paper and on the internet than they are on the pitch. And it's funny this game because I think I use it more as in the sense of we were talking about what does anything mean? What does that game against? The game against PSG was still warm, I think. What does it all mean? And I think I looked at the 7 and said, well, we don't know where. That's the first barometer really.
What have you just recap for me? What will your results be?
Tell you what, mastermind. Draw with Palace on the opening day. Should have lost.
Respect.
Should have lost.
Good point.
Good point these days, yeah.
The referee's been our best player a lot. In hindsight, a good point. It was the Eze Palace too, so probably a better point.
Yeah.
Then we stuffed West Ham. Again, the ref helped. There was lots of corners. Graham Potter and the ref were good. We've had.
Did you win the next one?
Fulham, wasn't it?
Yeah, Fulham.
You beat Fulham.
Yeah,
Fulham, the ref helped.
Referee sat in the old school house watching that. And then we had the international break, and it was Old Trafford.
Yeah.
And then we've done Brighton last weekend, and then here we are, number 7.
So you lost to United. You lost to United.
Lost to United.
And then what was Brighton? A draw.
We lost that. We threw that away. Yeah, 1-1.
Well,
we got this new thing where Chelsea.
Sorry, I'm just looking for encouragement.
I like the fact that you.
It's the red card factor, and it's really our new thing.
Before we started, Neil asked Rob,
it's like a trendy new thing we're doing.
Before we started, Neil asked Rob, he read the agenda, and Rob was like, yeah. All of those results are on the agenda, mate.
Oh, were they?
I didn't read it. They were with broad strokes.
Yes.
They were there with broad strokes, but yeah, I'm sort of pining for the days. Remember when one of the matches that we like that could have been an email. That match. Us versus you went through a really long phase of like no one needed that.
Yeah. And it happens 8 times a season.
Yeah, quite. But yeah, and I think that there's this odd thing at the minute where Chelsea are neither playing the game nor the occasion. and then one and you look at just loads of oddness goes on in almost every game. And latterly it is this red card thing, and then the reaction to it. In the only reason I think we got past Benfica was the red card was after the manager had made all his subs, so you couldn't do anything. There was no reaction to force upon the
When
team.
did it happen?
Very late, 93rd, second yellow for João Pedro. But you compare that to Robert Sanchez's sort of.
Did he take his top off?
No. Just
we got one of them.
we had one of them, Nick Jackson, but for some reason we forced him out the club. He'd have been great on Saturday evening, I think. And so I sort of think they're still in that phase, and we spoke about this so many times. They don't really yet know what they are and what they're going to be. But then, and I think there's elements when you come to pieces of that. There's elements of that can still have moments. There can still be moments or sort of like individual things. But then you hear the manager's response to the Old Trafford thing when he basically said, "Yeah, I haven't really done it for 10 men, so I'm sort of learning as we go as well." And none of you are over 12. None of you done anything before.
Do you like
fumbling
him?
with the Johnny, like, what do I do? It's so odd.
Do you like him?
You know what?
I'm not sure.
He's not my type, because the type of manager that I like is the narrative rather than the sort of systems coach. Like you watch, for me at Old Trafford, you look at the conditions, you look at the team you're playing against, you look at the fact that they do not know which shoe to put on which foot at the minute. You get your keeper sent off. It's possibly the most obvious type of red card you're going to get in the sort of early echelons of a match. So you make one very simple switch, you get a keeper in goal, and you look at your senior pros to go.
Just you know
what I mean? Exactly, yeah, the older lads, the lads of stubble, and you just go, can you just get us, surely you know how to get us to half time here. I don't need to shit the bed and do this and do that and sort of make the level of changes that were made. And if Palmer's injured, that makes sense. Just do him for the keeper and sort of. United you're not looking at them. If that happens on Saturday, then you know you're playing against a manager who can just slowly sort of turn up the intensity, maybe goes, let's go into the last hour of the game or the last 30 minutes of what we're going to do and just blow this out of the water. And so that's where he doesn't match with me, because he looked at that situation and thought, there's a play here, there's a whiteboard, there's some magnets to move around. And actually, I think my type of manager is much more, this is all right, because they're them, it's absolutely chucking it down. They're probably more nervous about this than we are, because they're now the favourites. They've now got something to go and get. We've still got players in Pedro, in Estavo, in Neto, who can do that job of come back a bit and just go when you get a chance.
Because let them sit in and make their own mistakes.
And you know his line's high. You know they're not going to necessarily hold on to the ball. You know that they've got Fernandez still playing in quite an odd position and all the rest of it. And you just take a deep breath and go, we should be able to get to half time. We don't need to be clinging on to a 0-0 3 minutes into a game away at one of the most out of form clubs, not even teams in the country. And that's where he's not for me something I enjoy. But then you look at other things he's done, I think, tactically, and where the players have begun to actually improve to a point. But then you, again, to go sort of full circle, who's doing the sort of mentality stuff? Who's stopping these incredibly odd red cards, and who's
the leadership group?
And who's looking around and thinking, you know, you got Andre Santos sort of hospital passing it to Chalobah, who's our only senior centre back at the time because of other injuries, and he gets himself sent off when you're 1-up against a team like Brighton. And that's what I think it'll come on to. It'll be a feature, a theme of this show, in that, you know, if you've got an idea what to do, I think you've got a chance against current Liverpool. I think there's a thing of, you know, what you're going to keep doing, and we saw. Listen, Palace did that. Loads of teams did that. You know, there's been games that you've won where the opposition, you could say, have still had a really good swing at it. But if you're a team that doesn't know what to do, you're just there for the taking with a team like Liverpool, I think, because there is no. You've put at the end, let's look at the lineup, and I think there's so many permutations, and that comes back to because of the manager. Because I don't yet know what he likes. It's hard to know what sort of stuff he's into in terms of what his team. We spoke for ages about, you can't describe a Chelsea goal for probably the last 4 seasons. It still feels like Ben Chilwell's going to pop up at the back post, isn't it? And there was a flirting with that at one stage. And I just feel like that's already kind of concluded, in that it is now a case of, oh, where's that man clad? He's good and calm and knows what he's doing all the time. And so it's a shame, and that's why, like I said.
Do you know what I do with him, Maresca? I just don't know what he's exuding. With every manager, there's got to be a vibe that suggests a leadership, that suggests a direction. I think if I had the ability, I would follow you into battle. I believe in you. I say, oh, he's got something, even if it's an illusion. I'm not sure he's
a deputy.
Yeah. He feels like what he is that guy. Yeah, one of the Guardiola boot room.
Which again, you've seen work with the right dressing room. That dynamic exists and does okay. I imagine that the fact James Milner's older than Hertzler comes into play quite a lot, but I imagine that they've made it, that dynamic of that Lewis Dunk and that dressing room have read the room. But I still feel like, well, again, he's so much more senior than them. There isn't really that.
Well, Liverpool have got to be Slot and Van Dijk in a way.
Yeah.
You know, people don't pay enough attention to when Slot's asked about Van Dijk, he was going, well, he's really important to me. He's like another manager on the pitch. Yeah. People go, oh, that's a lovely thing to say. No, he means that. He means he's my guy. I think Bob Paisley had it with Graham Souness and Kenny Dalglish, both of whom he recruited, by the way. But people were, Bob Paisley, he can barely talk. You know, he's so understated as a human being, he mumbles. I think today you'd look at Bob Paisley and go, and you put him in front of a camera and go, how is he leading anything? But he had a certain steeliness, and he had a way of communicating with his key generals. And I don't think Maresca has any generals.
And it's that personality manager too. I think you read about Simeone at Madrid, and players like Coke, he doesn't mind what they can change things. He is the sort of like almost a Spartan at the front, kind of doing this sort of. I'll take a lot of the heat, but you can make the tweaks. You read the game, you're playing it and stuff, and you have to allow players to do that.
So I think it's interesting. I think he does have a couple of generals. I think there's one in particular who I think has been so good through the whole calendar year, and that is Caicedo. Yeah. But even Caicedo, normally if I'm acting like you've got your midfield general there, he bosses this, he wins this battle, he looks after this, I'm thinking, and he shapes everything else that's going on around him. Now, there's some player, like Rodri's a great example. Yeah. Like, I think he's been not quite as good as Pompa Rodri, because that's so good, it's unbelievable. But he's not been that far off. but he's still really young himself, and he's still dealing with his own, or has been dealing with his own shit, with the price tag and all this sort of stuff. He's not in a position to drag a bunch of lads along with him. He just drags them along by playing well, which is why Chelsea got the Champions League.
Absolutely, and I think that's all he knows at this stage in his career. So it's going to be hard to let that grow when either that agency is taken away from them, like at Old Trafford. That's a real opportunity to see who you've got in that situation.
Yeah.
In those environments, in those particular way, bigger atmospheres than you're going to get at Old Trafford and stuff.
Which players is it that are those players for Chelsea besides
Well, you're looking at Reece James, you're looking at Endo Fernandez.
Reece James fit?
Yeah, he is. Fit with Reece James is...
we can see how he wakes up tomorrow morning.
It's kind of like, it's quite meta in a way. But I think he didn't play on Tuesday night. But yeah, I don't really know, because I don't think you really get a chance to see them exercise any right to be senior, because it is so controlled, and I think control works with loads of other things. And I think this is what the sort of the Guardiola legacy of people have got wrong. When you can, Red Smith the other week, you can pause when his assistants left him and what he was doing at that time, and they're still there. And he's always had something else going on. And you can see in Maresca, it's in the phase where you keep the ball loads and you just sort of basically wait for Leo Messi to do something, or that sort of
to grow up.
Or to just grab it by and put it in, or to suddenly step up the intensity. And you see Estevao, who's 17, looks really good because he's the only one who seems to not have spent much time with the manager. And he's sort of still like, well, I'll just spin this lad and run, and I'll knock it past him and go. And you can see Neto's like, they don't know. You don't do it. You all want to get attention, young man.
And Neto's sort of interesting. When I've watched Chelsea in the last 12, 18 months, when games have got a bit loose, that's when I felt like you've seen the best out of Neto.
100%.
Games have suddenly become a little bit, not quite basketball, that's overstated, but they've just got a little bit loose, and it feels like it's all got a bit uncontrolled. And then Neto's gone, pass me the ball, watch this, pass me the ball, and I'm just going to go at him, or I'm going to cut inside there, and I'm just going to crack it from here. And that's where he looks at his happiest as well.
And it's the same with Palmer, in that they both seem to have the ability to put the game at the pace they want it to be. I think he's not playing, but Palmer's charm is, when you watch him run sometimes, he's running at a different pace. It's like he's playing a more advanced version of FIFA than everyone else. His graphics are better and it just seems smoother. And because he knows what he's doing, whether he's allowed to have his instinct. And Neto's got that about him. And I think Neto played on the right a couple of times recently, and he's looked a lot better. And I think that will be interesting at the weekend.
So he played on the right. So who's playing on the left then?
Well, that's where it could be Garnacho. It could be.
Garnacho did well the other night.
He did okay. He did all right. I think. Like we said on a Friday show a few weeks ago, if you look at him without the shirt he was wearing and without the sort of context around him, you've signed a very young, very experienced, talented Argentinian lad. Just because he did the Ronaldo celebration and managed to piss off both sides of one continent is impressive. But he's got enough there. I wonder if you'll see Fernandez in the middle in that 10, and maybe Lavia gets
Lavia fit.
I think he might do Reece James at centre.
I actually think what he'll do is a bit like the long forgotten Club World Cup match, where he basically put Reece James there, Gusto here, Palmer on the right, but actually playing 10. I think that could be Estevao possibly, but he's so young, I don't know if this manager will roll the dice quite so.
How much of a loss do you think Palmer's going to be to stay in Oviedo, to me? Like
a huge loss, because of what I think, in the same way that Caicedo sets the tone by just being everywhere and being point perfect and really good. Palmer's the only one who kind of like seems to like happily have the ball at his feet, wait for the man, beat the man, know what he's going to do with it. The rest of them sort of, and it's why Madueke didn't look ideal at Chelsea, because they get themselves there and they sort of cut and they don't know. And then
he was good, Madueke, for first half of last season.
I think he's busy and I think he's good, but he didn't fit what they're doing, because that's sort of, you do have it taken out of you. It's elements of the Grealish at Man City where you want them to do that, but they're too conditioned or expected or fearful, so they come inside, knock it inside. And Caicedo will have it all day. He'll take it anywhere.
It's a fascinating conversation, that, by the way. Footballers, you had it taken out of them, which is where you put it. I think one day somebody might say that people took it out of Darwin Núñez. I actually think, without going back into the Darwin Núñez conversation, I know he couldn't hit. I know there were times he couldn't hit a cow's arse with a banjo, but I don't think Klopp or Slot ultimately, and why should they, work towards a Darwin Núñez solution? They work towards an LFC solution. I think somewhere out there, I always said, and I don't want to get on him, but there's a manager there. If he just wanted a Darwin Núñez solution, could have got one. I don't think we needed to.
But that is so often where you're at as a manager, is that you've got to decide. So I think what, for instance, Maresca's done with Parma is Maresca's decided to link the idea that if I get 9 out of 10 out of Parma, I get 8 or 9 out of 10 out of Chelsea. Some players get that sort of leeway.
And if I drill my other 10, I can absorb the potential collateral of a sort of more vibe-based 11th. His favourite sandwich is a jam.
Yeah. And I think that managers at times can pick the player and go, right, you're the one who gets who gets the lot, and everybody else just doesn't. And but this is how we're going to do it. And yeah, I think that managers do take it out of them. I think Grealish is a great example, but he had it taken out of him the year that his team won a treble, and he's got those medals.
If you want to play for a top club, you don't get, unless you are Leo Messi levels, like you said before, you don't get to be like a bit of a wild card on it, doing whatever you want whenever you want to do it, because everything's so structured. But it's so structured because that's the way to win, isn't it? Like, overall, if you just go and play, which was probably something 70s and 80s managers said, was fine then, because everyone was doing that. Whereas now, everyone knows exactly, if I'm taking a throne from this blade of grass, stand there, or if I'm going there, you stand there. And if you've got somebody who's not quite in that, it'll work 6 times out of 10 maybe, but those are the 4 going to result in losses, and you can't carry that if you want to be a top club.
Can we talk about Liverpool for a minute?
Well, we're going to do a break in a minute, and then we're going to come back and talk about the Reds.
Okay, because I've got a theory.
Oh, massive.
It's not, it just isn't.
Bam, bam, bam!
And Erdinger, please.
Stop!
Don't forget the best bit.
We're in the Mayflower, we've got the Erdinger, but...
Well, it occurred to me, giving it a very small amount of thought, that in virtually every game Liverpool have played this season, apart from Arsenal at Anfield, and even them to an extent, everyone has sat back on Liverpool. Yeah. They've come on to us at certain points. I'm not saying they've all low blocked from minute one, but they've been happy to go, give us what you got at Liverpool and we're ready to try and hit you on the break. And they all have to various degrees. But Chelsea on their own turf, I'm not saying they've quite got their tails up, but Liverpool have got their tails down. Chelsea will be thinking, never a better time to play the champions. Although Maresca's no mug and he's not going to go, we're going to go hell for leather, they are, I think, especially, I've been to Stamford Bridge a billion times, there's a feisty atmosphere then. They will want to take the game to Liverpool from minute one. And I don't think whatever Maresca wants, I think that will happen, because I think the crowd will be up for that happening. And I'm just fascinated by how Liverpool play in that way. In a way, it might suit us at this particular point in our evolution.
If you offered me that now, I would bite your hand off for it. But if I'm Maresca and he's still in the players as much as he has been, I'd be saying, look how little they can create if we just play this system. And then potentially you can say, because you're at home, we'll play that with 9 and we'll have 2 wild cards, Estevao and Neto, so they can go and do the damage. Because if they play like that against us, we'll win, I think. If they play the opposite, controlled football, they've got just as much chance as us, because at the moment, look at the Palace game, we just passed it first half and we were terrible. As soon as we went a little bit more direct, second half we were much better. Palace had the goals to hold on to. If Chelsea have got the buy-in to what the manager's doing and he says to do that, I think that's their way home in the match. I hope that they fall for the emotional side of it and say, no, we can't do that at home. But if the manager's as sort of rigid and like tactics-based as you're saying, surely that's the way he's going to go.
Because I was listening to Rob then thinking, I agree with you, but I think the concern would be the way they're set up takes any emotion. Like, it's not exactly going to be like welcome to hell, maybe for people of our political persuasion, but I don't think it's going to be like. But I do think
welcome to Fulham Road.
Quite. But I do worry that there's going to be a lot of people really up for it. There's going to be 11 players wearing blue with a very reductive and quite clear plan, because I think they might convince themselves that Liverpool will allow you in And I'm not sure that...
They'll be conservative.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that they have the capacity and the ability to be that conservative at the moment when you've got a back four with your 5th and 6th choice centre-backs, possibly.
So it'll be Hato and Akchambong?
I think it'll be Bashile.
Really?
I think he mentioned him a lot when he was injured in pre-season.
So many Chelsea players, you barely even
And I've said before, at his best, he's like a bass player, Bashile. You don't notice him, right? But then he started getting a bit noticeable. It's like he's put like symbols on his knees, and and like now you sort of. But then I thought against Benfica,
I'm visualising this.
Brighton, he was actually okay. He had that kind of like composure and stuff, which is nice. Achupong is and he's so mad saying this, he's so young, because relative to a young squad, he is still young. Could be Hato, but he seems to have not known what to do with him if he's a left back, he's a centre back. So
I think Hato makes sense if you're coming up against a Liverpool team with Salah in, because you're almost giving Kukureya
you can double up.
a fella behind
in Caicedo, you've got that Kante, 3 players in one.
Yeah.
Easiness anyway. But then again, I don't know, because I do think if Neto is on the right and he's up against probably Kirkez, then that could be interesting enough in that you could work it down that side. Like you said, I think
Kirkez will enjoy that challenge, by the way.
I think he will.
Kirkez is one of those footballers. It sounds like you need to focus Kirk. When it doesn't sound like it feels like, having watched him a handful of times properly, you need to focus him. He enjoyed the Madwakey challenge. He actually won that contest.
He's quietly settling in, I think.
Yes, I think so. He was excellent in the derby.
Yeah, he's quietly settling towards his...
I saw the last end of the last 20 or so minutes of the Galatasaray game, and I felt that because it was a case of they weren't used to having to, like, the misplaced passes, the sort of oddness going on. And I was thinking, well, this won't happen. Chelsea I don't think will be ahead early enough or long enough for it to get into those sort of errors. And like you said, if you're giving them a game to take to and you're giving someone who's going to try and get past them, I think all the Liverpool players will probably meet that challenge in quite a convincing
Well, there is a fact here which people endlessly forget, and away games in Europe fuck you up. And away games when you have to travel as far as you can in the Champions League-ish to Turkey fuck you up. Certainly by the second half they do. It goes back to as young as I was watching football. Liverpool need a strong start. I think they last played away, they played at home against Atletico and started quickly against Everton. And needed to because they were dead on 60. Now Liverpool made changes against Galatasaray. So the selection is going to be very, very important.
A day more's rest. Well, they've had to travel.
A day's more, yes. So it's Tuesday, Saturday.
Yeah. But also Saturday 5:30. Whereas Everton was Saturday 12:30.
Oh, of course. But there's travel. I mean, I can't remember. It was Gary Neville might have just casually thrown it in on one of their things the other day and just went, it's not back-to-back games that kills you. It's travel that kills you. And you can understand that. It's 4.5 hour flight to Turkey, there and back, fireworks all night. That's the biggest. Chelsea were at home to Benfica, weren't they?
Yeah.
This is the advantage Chelsea have. Liverpool, I don't know. I wish Ekitike had left the pitch fully fit, because he's Liverpool's best attacker at the moment, and I don't think he's going to see much. If he might see, I put he's 55% likely to see no action. 45% that you'll see 20 minutes max. We need something to happen in Alexander Isak's body, I feel, for this to go the right way. And also something to happen in Mohamed Salah's muscle memory for things to go the right way.
But it's interesting how pessimistic we're sort of as a collective being, because I think from the side I'm on, if I was Liverpool at the minute, I'd be dreading coming up against a team that's in form, that's organised, that you know what they're going to do in terms of you can't get ahead of the occasion. The occasion is already preset. It's going to be massive. It's going to be this.
Crystal Palace.
Exactly. So and then you think, well, enter Chelsea, where none of that is true. You've got a team that is unfamiliar at the top and the bottom of the pitch because of injuries and suspensions. You've got your two stalwarts in the middle who cannot surely, because the thing that's interesting at the minute is Chelsea normally have quite a good 3 months at the start of the season. Well, our season started in June, so our 3 months are really up. Do you know what I mean?
It's a good way of looking at it.
So there's that thing too, and I just think they're the archetype, they're exactly the sort of situation you would design, other than possibly away at Old Trafford, where you think, well, they're trying to do a thing they're not able to do. We at least know what we're doing, and I think Slot's ability last year to keep the macro and change the micro really, really helped, and I think he's sort of had more to play with this season. I don't think you've been demonstrably sort of worse in the sense of I don't think you're a million miles off. It's just a bit different, and there's teething problems and stuff. But
I think this is a massive.
But Chelsea are an ideal for teething problems.
You're going to say you think this is a massive game?
Turning point, potential game for Liverpool. And have the risk of being melodramatic, but
Would you take a point?
Absolutely not.
I'm going to keep asking people this. I think it's mad you wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't. I know.
Football through that prism of negativity.
Negativity, I'm just saying.
Well, a defeat would be a minor disaster, but a win would be a massive reset.
I think obviously a win would be incredible. I think it's worth saying that last season Liverpool win the league. They only win at 3 of the teams that finish in the top 10 away from home. You go back to when City do the treble, 22-23, they only win against 3 of the teams that finish in the top 10 away from home. Season after when City win the league in 23-24, against the eventual top 6, home and away, they only win 2 games.
We won't be top going into the international break if we
But
don't.
we'll be level on points.
I always come back to there's a Peter Crouch thing when he was at Stoke, and he basically, I'm going to say it was Hughes, read out what they're going to get in every game. And he said they're all fuming, all the lads are like, because it was quite pessimistic. And he was like, you do that, you come 4th. And I think we forget sometimes that there's so much, so many points available at home, so many points are available in games that you just go into thinking, well, we're just better than these. And it's where Arteta's getting himself unstuck a little bit, because he doesn't seem to know where to stick and where to twist in that regard. And I always come back to it because I think it's a really interesting way that how fans and sort of that fire in your belly, you look at it. But then if you have a bit of a breath and look back, you go, well, actually, 2 points away at Stamford Bridge, 1 point, is probably all right. In the grand scheme, like I said, in the message, in the narrative.
But not if you want to win the league. Because you end up going to, you want to win the league, you go, a point at Stamford Bridge is good. But then you've got to also go, a point at Newcastle's good. You've also got to go a point
3 points
at...
is better.
And before you know it, you've given up so many draws.
But I don't want to give up so many draws. My point is, my thing is, first and foremost, we've already won one game against the eventual top 10 away from home this season, because we've gone to Newcastle. Newcastle will finish top 10.
Well,
so we've already got one in our back pocket. So let's be clear. And trust me, if we win this game, but I think the best way in which you win this game is by not being so desperate to win it. You drive yourself back. But also, it's a bastard of a week. You're away at Sellers Park, and then you basically...
It is a bastard.
You come off the pitch and you basically got to go to Turkey.
Yeah.
And then you're away in Galatasaray, and then you come back to that and you're away at Stamford Bridge at 5:30. I'm sorry, in the grand scheme of things, that is... Now listen, when we come back off the next international break, the first game back is Forest at home. Then we play, then I think we play PSV. This is all the way in November, so it's a mile away. Then we play PSV at home. Then we go away to West Ham. I'm at the end of November.
Man U, by the way?
No, I've left an international break. My point is, I'm leaving an international break forward to make the point. There's a point coming up where you make all the fucking hay because the sun's going to shine. Because you've got Forest at home, followed by PSV at home, West Ham away, Sunderland at home. 4 wins, Liverpool. Don't fuck about. Thank you very much indeed. See you later.
The wins against teams like this come later in the season, don't they?
And now I think with this one, genuinely, I'm not saying we'll get a point and I'll be all like fucking. I'm not going to be like the Arsenal supporter who goes, it's not a win, but it's like a win. I'll just be like, we've got out of this international break when no one's playing well, when loads of them look goosed, when the fitness is all over the place, and we're level on points at the top. And then we come back and hopefully we're a bit better, a bit sharper, and then we've got United at home. Let's get going, boys. Then we've got Brentford away. It'll be horrible, loads of long throws, but let's win that one as well. Then we've got Villa at home. Come on, let's get those ones.
I think the problem is that I talked on the show I did with Mo in the week, is that Liverpool a bit and Chelsea as well, but Liverpool are all of a sudden the team's struggling for a bit of an identity. We're replete with stars, but we're not quite sure how this actually looks, what a Liverpool goal looks like at the moment. We're not sure of this. So we do need to win. Saying it's a must-win is ridiculous when you've come off the week like we've just come off. But God, it would be a massive win at this stage.
I feel incredible.
Let
me tell you about my Saturday night.
Oh, I would. But and we can easily lose, and we have to not lose our heads if we lose, by the way, because we can easily lose and we have to just think, well, there will be a reset, let's go for this. But if we are to draw, the way I would enjoy the draw, I said to Mo, I'd take a cheeky 2-2 where Wirtz bagged and Isak bagged, and we came out of it with maybe a bit of a hard luck story and had a sense of how the new Liverpool was gelling, because the narrative is moving in a direction at the moment which is worrying, and I don't like that. I know it's very quick. The trouble is the narrative was moving that way. It's not a knee-jerk whilst we were winning.
But also, I understand that, but the narrative's building in my opinion, from people who don't understand football a lot of the time, and certainly people who don't understand Liverpool, the rush to write Verts off is ridiculous.
Oh, it is ridiculous. Bizarre. I thought it was quite good the other night.
That's
quite
it.
good against
And
Palace.
The problem is now, because you feel sometimes daft saying that because he hasn't scored, like, you're the idiot. Like, I watched him the other night against Galatasaray, puts the ball forward for Isak, who fluffs his chance, and then Conor Bradley 10 bob heads it. Both of them could have equal goals. As touch as passing is fantastic. He's unbelievable.
Yeah, he is.
He's clearly just a player who's come into the league, needs a bit of time to get into it. That's all that is. The rush to write him off is just from people who I've got no time and therefore no respect for their opinion. So I'm not worried about the narrative. But you probably talked me into saying yes, I would take a point. But all the stuff Chris has just said to you there.
Oh, listen.
That's I know you're not saying you don't want to win, obviously. But what I mean is, if Chris is saying that, Arne Slot's probably had that same discussion with his coaches, and surely we've got enough players and enough attacking flair available to us to go, we'll hit that and that. So just like, listen, ask me again in 70 minutes and I might say a point of great results here, but I just don't think we can go in there with that attitude.
Oh no, I think it's more
I
for
think
me.
champions go and win this game.
I
agree.
I think that part of how champions go and win this game is they don't go in. I mean, for want of a better phrase, because they want it to me head like a dog with two dicks, with the idea that we've got to go and sort it out straight away.
All guns blazing, just sitting there waiting to go there, but no, we went for the dog with two dicks.
Yeah, I don't have my back pocket, Kev. I don't have my back pocket.
It's a lovely phrase, people don't say enough these days.
So we don't go in there doing it like that. We go
say.
in there with the attitude of, the idea of, right, the way in which you do this is you wait, as Chris has tried to say, you wait till they shoot themselves in the foot, because they will give you something, they will give you the chance, they'll do something mad, they'll do something mature, and that's how you're gonna pull this game out the bag.
My base player chipped it to a centre back the other day when his centre back was pretty much marked by 3 or 4 men.
Yes.
Right. That'll happen. I feel like I've written Chelsea off because that's the sort of situation that I think we're in. I still think it's there because I don't know who it matters to more, and I think that will be really telling. I think that the whatever Maresca's had enough build up to the situation he's in because of the red cards and the injury. Benfica at home's not the headache in the sense of like the Champions League now sort of feels so much longer to sort of do certain things, and you get out of it and you get a win. I think there's a version of Chelsea that do well. But I think if Chelsea get too much into that, then I think you can strengthen the bench in a way that we can't get better as the game goes on. We can maybe get a little bit more tricky up top, but that doesn't work if you're 2-0 down necessarily, or 1-0 down, or already goosed with this 4 players you can't change.
I need to end the show, Rob, unfortunately. Go on, what do you want to say?
My final point is, you said in your agenda, and I'll prove I did read it, this is a massive game for Chelsea, and the implication was it's bigger for Chelsea than it was for Liverpool in a certain sense. I think it's much bigger for Liverpool than for Chelsea.
That's because you support Liverpool.
No, but we're going. If you're going for Chelsea, would deal on 3rd, maybe even 4th right now, right? Even, and if you guarantee Champions League, maybe even 5th.
5th would happy.
They would. They'd get a deal on Champions League. Liverpool would not. And if you the league's your aim, it's closer to must win than nothing
there's an
else.
Ideal world. My ideal world.
I thought you wanted to do the Chelsea last word.
My ideal world is that Chelsea are 7 points behind Crystal Palace at the end of Sunday. Thank you very much to Chris, to Rob, to Kev. See you later on.